Welcome back. I'm Roger Stone. I had the honor of going to Atlanta last weekend for a MAGA Dixie rally sponsored by Citizens for Trump. And I can say without any question that, and polls reflect this, support for the president is at an all-time high, and the intensity of his support among his supporters not only has not lost any of its luster, as it has with Hillary Clinton. If anything, the president is stronger among Republican primary voters than at any time I have seen an incumbent Republican presidency. That said, I was really heartened by the extraordinary turnout for the MAGA rally and the fighting spirit of those who attended. And you can see my pretty fiery speech, an attack on the deep state, by going to stonecoldtruth.com. I think it's worth your while. While I was in Atlanta, I had the opportunity to endorse the candidacy of Senator Michael Williams, who I believe will be joining us shortly. Now, I am going to work for Republican candidates in the 2018 cycle. I'm going to go out and support those who support the president, not the country club establishment Republican types who have cut and run on the question of health care, who don't want a corporate income tax cut as large as the president. I think the only way the president can survive his battle with the Congress is to run against both parties, to make it clear to the people that he has put forward an aggressive and dynamic program for economic growth. But the two-party duopoly, the Republicans and Democrats working together, have thwarted that plan. You see, maybe it's Trump a triangulation, but he will do himself no good by endorsing the establishment re-election candidacy of candidates like Senator Luther Strange. Nor should he listen to the party leaders who will tell him that primaries are divisive. Donald Trump is not a career politician, and he doesn't have career politician views or rules. I would argue that he should target a selected group of incumbents who have been recalcitrant about supporting his program and take the fight right to the Republican establishment. If he takes a few scalps, if he wins a few preliminary victories, believe me, Senator Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan will wet their pants. And now I believe we have solved our technical problems, and we are pleased to have join us a gentleman who I think will be the next governor of Georgia, Senator Michael Williams. Welcome to InfoWars.
Well, thank you, Roger. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody.
I really want to tell people why I made the trek to Norcross, Georgia, to say a few words on your behalf. And no, I am not a paid consultant or strategist in your campaign. I'm a free agent, and I'm going to help those who helped the president. So not only are you a comrade in arms from the Trump campaign, I know an early supporter long before many in the establishment realized his candidacy was real. But in many ways, you remind me of the president. You didn't come to the state Senate from politics. You came from business. You didn't come from a political background. You came from an entrepreneurial background. And I think many people don't know this. It was only when Obamacare threatened to destroy your business that you made the decision to make the sacrifice with small children, but get into politics and see if you can make a difference. That's really why I went to Georgia and why I'm proud to endorse your candidacy.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Roger. I was the first elected official here in Georgia to come out and support the president in September of 2015. In fact, when he had his first rally in Norcross in October of that month, I was one of the only candidate or the only elected official that spoke at his rally. Also, you touched on it. I'm not a career politician. I'm a business guy. I'm a CPA by trade. Used to own 18 barbershops called Sport Clips Haircuts. Had 160 employees. Was taking care of my employees. They were loving their jobs. And Obamacare came in, and I was just sick and tired of continually fighting the government. I spent so much of my time dealing with the red tape and fighting government that I ended up selling it and decided, you know what? I'm fed up with career politicians that say one thing, get elected, and instead of doing what they promised the voters, they do what the people that finance their campaigns want them to do. They follow the lobbyists, the special interests, big corporate, and doing their bidding. So I figured, you know, I just can't complain about it anymore. I've got to go out there and do it myself. So I put about $300,000 into my first campaign. Went out there and to be honest with you, we kicked the ass of the incumbent. He got his butt beat by 64%, 64 to 34%.
You have an amazing and dynamic career so far. You know, something that Anthony Scaramucci, the former White House aide, said last week on his ABC interview is very true. Those in the political class don't want those from the entrepreneurial business class in the game. People who have had to make a profit, meet a payroll, pay their taxes. You know, it's a zero-sum game for these career politicians. It's all about getting reelected, being non-controversial, keeping your head down, and as you know, with gerrymandering, you know, appealing to the most partisan nature of their constituencies. You have an experience as a manager, and the race here is about governor. Governors need to run things, and I get the sense that you would run a tight ship. Now, they say you're a dark horse. They say you're the long shot, but I can tell you, it is not the candidate with the most money who wins. It is not the candidate with the most establishment endorsements. How do you think your campaign is going?
I think our campaign is going fantastic, and you're absolutely right. They consider us a dark horse, that we're kind of the long shot. But they said that about Donald Trump, too. They said that he would never win. He could never beat Jeb Bush and some of the other establishment candidates. When he became the Republican nominee, they said he could never beat Hillary Clinton. Well, we saw what happened. Donald Trump won. The people in this country, in this state as well, are sick and tired of the career politicians that you said earlier. They rely on the money train that is taxes. They go into our pockets every single quarter, every single month, and take our money from us by force. I was sitting in a budget meeting, the very first budget meeting I was as a state senator, and they had this chart up on the wall that was a graph of what they call revenue. Again, what it is it's taxation. And they're all patting themselves on the back because they had collected more revenue. I was sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, these guys don't know what they're talking about. This is not revenue. This is taking our money by force. There is no product they're selling. They're taking it from us. And then what they do with it, it's astounding. Again, like I said, I'm a CPA. I actually enjoy reading audit reports and financial statements. I've been diving into the books here in the state of Georgia, and we waste billions of dollars every single year. It's mind-numbing, the amount of money that we waste. And again, the career politicians, they don't care. As long as they get the support of the lobbyists, the special interests, they'll dole out our money all day long. We see that with tax credits and all kind of other programs that we have here in the state of Georgia, again, that benefit a select few people, not the people of Georgia.
You know, it's funny you mention it because your chief opponent, Casey Cagle, reminds me very much of Jeb Bush. You know, lots of money, but no votes. Here's a guy who's been in public office for 24 years straight, been on the public payroll since he was 28 years old, never
Correct.
created a job, never made a payroll, but more importantly, not much of a legislative record either. A classic go-along to get-along politician who secretly opposes pay raises for cops and firemen, for law enforcement, then publicly tries to pretend he was for it. It's the typical, you know, politician's two-step. I've seen this one before.
No, exactly, Roger. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. He's been in office for a quarter of a century. Not only that, Republicans have controlled the state of Georgia for over a decade with the governor's office, the House, and the Senate. And we still have the highest state income tax in the Southeast. I think South Carolina has a little bit higher than us. Our budget has grown from $15 billion to $25 billion in the past 7 years. And again, to your point earlier, I had a bill this past legislative session where we were trying to give our law enforcement officers a pay raise. We have 3,200 law enforcement officers in the state of Georgia that are on food stamps. That is an embarrassment. He killed that in the Senate. Now, there's plenty of money to give to build stadiums and parking lots and all that kind of good stuff for the for big corporate out there. But where was the money for the law enforcement officers when they need it? Again, having anybody supporting us with their lives on the line every single day, and they have to be on food stamps. Again, it's an embarrassment, and we need to do something about it. We need to, again, support the people of Georgia, not the career politicians and the establishment.
Now, Senator, here's a political question for you. Donald Trump's victory in the state of Georgia was by about 4 points. Certainly significant and solid, but I expected perhaps that it might have been a little bigger. If the election were held again tomorrow in Georgia, what would be the result?
I believe that he would win by a drastic margin right now, because the people here in Georgia, they love what our president is doing. They are seeing a man who is committed to bringing our country back, to making America great again, and he is fighting tooth and nail against the media on both sides, both the right and the left. I mean, to have a Senate right now that will not pass the repeal of Obamacare after campaigned on doing that, again, it continues to add fuel to that fire that we are feeling, where we're just tired of these politicians that say one thing and do something else. So I don't know what the number would be, but I know he would win by a much larger margin, primarily because, again, I'm talking to people out there that say, they are in support of their president. And also, he won 155 of 159 counties here in Georgia primary. So he has a strong base here in Georgia.
Well, we're going to be following your race very, very closely. It was my colleague Owen Schroyer here at InfoWars who first picked up on the Omar Navarro for Congress campaign against Maxine Waters. We're also going to be following Carla Spalding, the Republican candidate against Deborah Wasserman Schultz in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to be watching your campaign for Georgia as well. I know this is an uphill, grassroots, hand-to-hand combat endeavor, but I have a feeling that you are on the right course, and we will welcome you back at InfoWars to give us kind of an update down the road.
Well, thank you. And if I may, Roger, can I just direct everybody to our website? They can go to learn more about our campaign. It's williamsgeorgia.com. And like you said, we're relying on grassroots. I've already put a lot of money myself in the campaign, but anybody who wants to support the president here in Georgia, support his movement, I appreciate any donations y'all can throw our way. Again, it's williamsgeorgia.com, and thanks for having me on.
Great. There he is, folks. Fearless conservative Michael Williams, the new breed of Republican. We are back to tell you that this very day, the United States Cannabis Coalition, a bipartisan nonprofit, which is an ad hoc project of the U.S. Freedom Coalition, was launched. My co-partner in this endeavor is the trial lawyer from Orlando, John Morgan, who is widely and correctly credited with single-handedly passing the constitutional amendment in Florida that allows for the sale of medicinal marijuana. We simply call on the president, who courageously said that he would support the access of millions of Americans, including our veterans, to medicinal marijuana in the 29 states where it is legal. We simply call on the president to keep that pledge. We're deeply disturbed by grumblings that Attorney General Jeff Sessions and the White House Chief of Staff General Kelly are plotting a criminal crackdown in those states where there is a dichotomy between federal and state law. And of course, the feds argue that marijuana is illegal. The Holder memo, in essence, a directive from the Attorney General under Barack Obama, that the feds would stand down where the states have legalized, is sound public policy and has worked well. Millions of Americans have been assisted, and thousands of jobs have been created, while millions more in revenue have been generated. More importantly, opioid deaths, opioid-related crimes, and all minor crimes are down. This is a bipartisan effort, folks, Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives, progressives and libertarians working together to persuade the president to keep his pledge regarding states' rights and the states' rights to self-determination on the question of marijuana. We also support a change from the Schedule I rating of marijuana so that doctors can prescribe it for their patients who would benefit. That will be in the news, and you can go to uscannabiscoalition.org for more information. Thank you very much. I'm Roger Stone. A little ZZ Top there. That's a lot of music for just three guys from Texas. Speaking of Texas, I'm headed to Austin to guest host for Alex Jones on Thursday and Friday of this week. And we're going to be laying out in greater detail the extraordinary evidence that proves Ukrainian collusion with Hillary Clinton's campaign and, shockingly, the Ukrainian role in now supplying deadly missile technology to North Korea. We also will be talking about the Deborah Wasserman Schultz IT scandal, which grows worse by the day. You see, it is not just that Deborah Wasserman Schultz badgered the Capitol Hill police chief to get the laptops seized in the investigation into the shady Pakistani Awan brothers. It's also that Wasserman Schultz, after she was formally notified of the investigation, changed the status of one of the brothers in the system from consultant to employee to guarantee his continued access to the U.S. House of Representatives computer system. This is, of course, completely, in the view of many attorneys, makes her an accessory. Deborah Wasserman Schultz said last week that perhaps the Awan brothers, who stole data and money, are only being persecuted because of their Muslim faith. This is a race to watch because Deborah Wasserman Schultz will be opposed in the Democratic primary by a Bernie Sanders supporter, Tim Canova, and is likely to be opposed on the Republican side by an exceptional candidate, Carla Spalding, who is a single mother of three, the holders of a master's degree, a former registered nurse who was a whistleblower who uncovered corruption at the Veterans Administration. A Navy veteran, Carla Spalding will be the toughest candidate that Deborah Wasserman Schultz has ever faced. So we have an extraordinarily good amount of tough political analysis and reporting in the pipeline for the end of the week. And of course, I will be working with Gary Heaven and David Knight and others to bring you immediate reports and analysis on the situation around the president. We are in perilous times. There is, as Anthony Scaramucci told us on ABC, a cadre around the president who seek to take him out. We will keep you abreast of the entire coup. Stay tuned here at InfoWars. I'm Roger Stone. Victory or death. We are, I think it would be remiss not to talk for just a moment about that ABC interview. It is key that Scaramucci said three key things. One, he confirmed that there are those deep in the bowels of the White House whose job it is to, his words, eject the president. He criticized Steve Bannon, which I have spoken of earlier, but he expressed some support for H.R. McMaster. Let me be clear. My criticism of Steve Bannon does not mean that I am a fan of the globalist crowd around McMaster. So, Roger Stone, again, joining you at InfoWars. Many thanks for joining us.